Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are 3 games into the Stanley Cup Final now. It is currently 2-1 Panthers. Obviously, we're going to be breaking down both games 2 and 3 since they've happened since our last episode. So we'll be breaking those down at some point in the episode. But we do have a couple other things to talk about first, and I believe we have a game at the end as well. So I'll leave it up to you. Where do you want to start with all this?
I think let's start off with the news that broke earlier today prior to the beginning of Game 3 here. And that is that Washington Capitals forward TJ Oshie announced his retirement after 16 NHL seasons. Obviously, Oshie didn't play at all this season due to injuries and whatnot, but I believe his contract was actually up at the end of this season. So stuck around an LTIR, got a nice paycheck, and now is able to officially announce his retirement. I believe the plan is for him to go into broadcasting. I know he was on one of the panels
Oh,
not too long ago, so I think that's kind of the next road for him. And I think he's a he's a terrific voice. I think can bring a lot to the game through that way. So I think that's a perfect path for him now. And um, Stanley Cup champion TJ Oshie finally hangs him up.
yeah. And yeah, great career. Obviously, so many people recognize him as he's the shootout man because he had notoriously that I want to say it was the 2014
Yep.
Olympics where especially against that in that preliminary game against Russia where I believe he shot 6 times in a row and went 4 for 6 because
He was
in the
automatic. It was
yeah,
insane.
because for those who don't know, in the Olympics, you need to do 3 separate shooters at the start, and then after that, you can do whoever you want. You can go back to one of those 3 guys. You can do somebody else. You can go the same guy over and over, and that's what they did. So he shot in the first 3 people once, and then he shot 5 more times, and they ended up winning in the 7th or 8th round. So absolutely incredible moment there, and one of the highlights for him for sure. Um, just because he's it's always fun to do this with these players that have a decent amount of pedigree. Um, do you think TJ Oshie gets consideration for the Hall of Fame?
No.
And do remember, it is not just the National Hockey League Hall of Fame; it is the Hockey Hall of Fame. So all that stuff in the Olympics that does count.
No.
Not enough accolades.
Because there's not that that gold medal. He does have a Stanley Cup, but yeah, I think he's one of those guys that's like I don't love it when people say, but like the Hall of Very Good. I
Yeah,
think he's
yeah,
like in that pool of players. It's like you're not good enough for the Hall of Fame, but like you're right, like you're kind of knocking on the door. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, again,
yeah.
great player, but in my opinion, yeah, I don't think one of those guys that ends up making it in.
If
And like, no disrespect to him, like it's tough to
oh
do.
no,
Like it's
no, I
like
mean
you know,
honestly, it would be a really fun, probably a summertime off-season episode to do at some point to go through all the players in the Hall of Fame. Maybe not all of them, but like try and figure out who is the worst player in the Hall of Fame. Who are like the worst 5 or 10,
ooh, that'd be
and be
tough.
like, because if you figure out the bottom guys, that's kind of like that's the measuring stick to get in a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Because if you can point to a dozen players that are in and be like, I had better careers than all of them, it's you know that's a pretty damn good case that you should be there as well.
Hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it would be interesting to kind of look around at that, and then yeah, you see who's in there, and if you can make a case for. But then you could do the exact opposite, make a case of like guys that should be in and aren't, right? So be like those guys should be the ones.
Oh,
But it would
absolutely.
definitely be something fun to take a look at for sure. But yeah, congrats to TJ Oshie on a great career, and best of luck to whatever it is he fully ends up doing after this. Moving forward, this uh, bit of news broke like we were just talking about it like 10 minutes or like 30 minutes before Friday's episode came out, and that is that the Dallas Stars did in fact fire head coach Peter DeBoer. Peter DeBoer, who has spent I don't know exactly how many years was it, six,
I
five?
with the Stars.
Yeah.
I believe it was 3. I can double
No,
check it
no,
for us
no,
here.
because he his first year they went to the Cup final against Tampa.
Oh, really?
I just put in there that he was fired after 3 straight trips to the Western Conference Final, but he was there.
He was not with them in that season.
Oh, no, he wasn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was still,
I remember because
Rick
I've been
Bowness.
seeing a lot
That
of
was Rick
stuff about him
Bowness.
being a 3-year coach because he coached the last 3 seasons with the Stars. Before that, it was 3 seasons with the Golden Knights.
That's
Before that, it
right.
was
Yeah, because he got canned
5
after
seasons with the Sharks.
Vegas missed the playoffs. That's right. Wow, so he's actually wow. So that tells you right there, only 3 years, but it felt like so much longer because of how much success the team had. I think
Yeah,
he
I
had the
was shocked when I
best
heard it too because I
regular
thought he was in the bubble as well.
I think he had the best regular season win percentage out of any coach in the last 3 years.
I mean,
I
I
think I was
believe you
reading
for
something
sure.
like that.
For
So,
the
but
Stars,
again,
they've been
like,
pretty good.
you know, I was saying 5 or 6, like, it just feels like he's been there for so long because of how much success he's had with that team, and again, like, 3 straight trips to the Western Conference Finals.
And
You
well,
could debate
and
well,
then he
actually, I've
missed the
got the
playoffs with Vegas, but the 2 years before that, he also got to the 3rd round with
yeah,
with Vegas, and
and
then
his last full season with San Jose, 3rd round, so his last his last 5 trips to the playoffs, it's been well, I guess actually including this year, his last 6 Western Conference Final, all 6 years.
yeah,
Like, that's
and then
can he can get there, but just is having trouble
yeah,
getting over, that hump, it seems, in the
yeah.
West.
Well, and even when he gets there, like the 15-16 Sharks lost in the finals, the Devils in 11-12 lost in the finals. He's been to the
Mhm,
finals twice as well, and
mhm.
he hasn't quite got there. So,
Hasn't quite got there. Yeah, terrific coach, probably, I'm not 100% sure, but I know people are obviously throwing it out there, like, it was his comments about Jake Ottinger that got him fired. I believe that probably played a little bit of a part of it. I don't think that was the sole reason because this Stars team is like
I
they're in
think it was
full
the
on
nail in
panic
the
mode.
coffin.
I don't think I thought
I don't
so.
think they would have done it if he didn't say it that incendiary. Like it was, and then he doubled
I
down
at
in the
first I
locker
did,
room cleanout.
but it was until the rumors came out that Jason Robertson's potentially available for trade. That's when I was like, okay, now it's just a mixture of a bunch of things. They're in full on panic mode because again, it's like you've got this great team with so much talent, and it's 3 straight trips to the Western Conference Final, and you never were really in the driver's seat of like, okay, yeah, you're a threat. Like you can do this. It was always like you got to find a way to pull this off just to get to the Cup Final. Um, so
They
it's
were a
probably a big
threat.
part of
They
it,
were
yeah.
a
But
threat though. Like
eh,
I don't know, man. They look
I didn't see
strong.
enough
Like
in the Winnipeg series, though.
if they
That's why I
beat
kind
the
of lost a
Oilers,
little
I
bit of
wouldn't have been
faith.
shocked.
I don't think I would have been shocked, but going in, it was. I think I picked Dallas, but that's just because I was just riding the Dallas bandwagon, didn't want to get thrown off. But it, it was the Winnipeg series where I was like, damn, like they look like worse than they did against Colorado. And again, it goes back to that. Is it because they got Heiskanen and Robertson back, and everybody's like, all right, we can kind of take our foot off the gas. We got our big dogs back, and they took a little too much off, and then they just got rolled. I don't know, but the Dallas Stars are in full on panic mode right now. It sounds like there's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of
And they
shake up there, and obviously it started with the firing of Peter DeBoer. So I'm interested to see who they bring in and what the vibe is there, and what other changes are to come with it. Because this is just the start of again what I think is going to be couple big moves that Dallas
yeah.
does this offseason.
And it really sounds like that's what they're going for. And I tell you, I think that would be a huge mistake. I think they've got something real good, real special going on. I think
Yeah.
they they are one of the teams that needs to stay the course, you know. Like
Mhm.
there's plenty of teams, Toronto immediately obviously comes to mind, where you don't just want to keep running it back. You need to make the moves. You got to be aggressive. You got to make the right changes. But there's also some teams where, you just kind of stay the course at the deadline. You try and make a good pickup, but beyond that, you just trust in it, and eventually you can break through. Like that, obviously, like when they got swept by Columbus in 2019, there was talks of big names getting traded out of Tampa and John Cooper being gone, but they stuck with it. And like, look how that turned out for him. Like, for every Toronto never amounted to anything, and now the band is breaking up, there's also another team that can make it work. And I think they've just got such a collection of talent. Like, you're not going to get better trading Jason Robertson.
No. And is the Dallas team going to be better the next year? Probably not, because you are in such a cap crunch. But they're no doubt going to be a good team next year. In my opinion, are they going to find a better coach than Peter DeBoer? Probably not. I don't think there's a if you go the route of already like coaches that have already coached in this league, you're not going to find someone better than Peter DeBoer. If you go outside of the carousel of coaches and you bring in a new fresh mind, then there's the possibility of you maybe could find a home run. You look at other teams and that's the way they've went and it's worked out great. So again, I'm not a fan of it, but this is the way the Stars are going. They're obviously panicking. I think if the to put the blame on DeBoer, I think is unfair. In my opinion, as crazy as it is, some of the blame's got to be put on Jim Nill. Yes, he made the big move to get Rantanen, and that was awesome, and it paid off extremely well to close the series out against Colorado and early on against Winnipeg. But we talked about how bad the Lyubushkin contract is, the Dumba contract, and he didn't do anything. Like he brought in Cody Ceci. And again, that's a decent third pair guy, but it's like, man, that was your biggest glaring weakness, and you just said we're not going to address it. And that's tough. And that was the biggest weakness for Dallas was the right side of their blue line, especially in the Edmonton series, but even against Colorado and Winnipeg. So they definitely got to do some work there. We talked about that last episode, so we're not going to dive super heavy into that. But
yeah, I do think they're going to get really lucky this offseason. I think they're very lucky that Dumba is 1 year left on his contract. I think a lot of people are going to go into that free agency assuming he can't move that. I think it's going to be shocking how easy he can move that.
It's going to be easy, but you're going to probably have to attach a pick to it, though.
He's going to attach a pick. I think it's going to be a further back pick than people expect. Like,
he's got 1 year left. Like, it'll be probably a third or a fourth.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be difficult. Because there will be sometimes where it could be hard to move that, but I think there are some teams that are borderline going to want a guy like Matt Dumba. I think it's going to be scary how hard some of these teams tank to try and get a talent like Gavin McKenna. And I think just picking up guys like Matt Dumba, not that he's going to tank their franchise, but Matt Dumba on your team getting third most minutes of a defenseman, something like that. That's not a winning formula, but it's a very, it doesn't look, it also looks better for your franchise than icing a bunch of AHL guys.
Yeah.
But we'll see what they end up doing.
But I don't really have much else to say on this.
Do you have any?
Well, I expect him to land on his feet somewhere eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think there's any other coaching
do you think
openings right now.
That? Well, that's actually another thing I did want to mention because I think there's quite a bit of rumors. Obviously, Ottinger's not happy with what he said, but Ottinger was as cordial as you could be in the situation. It sounds like a lot of the rest of the locker room was not happy about what DeBoer said as well. They really didn't like it. And I'm wondering if the Stars kind of shafted him a little bit on purpose. I wonder because
maybe, but then if you're the flip side is if he doesn't blame Ottinger, he blames every single player because literally the whole team was
players do that.
Off.
Yeah, but coaches do that all the time, and that's not a problem. The coaches all the time go up to the podium and say, "We didn't skate hard enough. We didn't try hard enough." When you say "we," it's easier, right? When you go this guy, it looks a lot more rough, especially the young goalie. But I think they knew they were going to fire him about a week before they did it. Maybe not that long, but a good bit. And I think they purposefully waited till, first of all, after the locker room clean out. They wanted one more presser from him. But I think they were also like, If a couple of the coaching jobs get filled, no skin off our nose. We're not looking for a job. And then, Marco Sturm with the Bruins, Dan Muse with the Penguins. Like there's a
Yeah,
couple of
maybe.
spots getting filled up. It's Jim Nill. I think if he doesn't find one in the offseason, or not Jim Nill, Pete DeBoer, if he doesn't find one in the offseason, I think the first team to fire their head coach during the
We'll
season
bring him in.
probably picks him
Yeah.
up.
It'll be like a Todd McClellan of last year with Detroit,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So I think there's a
Yeah,
very
he'll
good
land
chance
on
of
his
that.
feet somewhere. I have
Do you have any
no doubt.
obvious
No,
candidates that you think might sign with here?
no, because I don't know who's it's gonna be at that point, you're trying to think of a team of, like, that should be a playoff team that's gonna suck next year,
Oh, no,
and
sorry.
trying to think
I
of
was
that.
thinking of a coach free agent that you think will end up going to Dallas.
I mean, I've heard the names of, like, Jay Woodcroft and a couple of those other guys, and
Just the usual suspects, the biggest
again,
names
I'm
that
like,
don't have a
it's
job.
not gonna be better than what you had with Peter DeBoer, straight up. So I would like to see Dallas go the route of finding maybe a kind of unknown coach and bring me like, "Hey, there's a lot of talent here, you know,
They have
you've
already
got a
announced
bunch
that
of
they're
goals
willing
here,
to hire
make it
from
work."
within.
So, well, if they hire from within, they might be fucked if they hire Steve Spott as head coach. You hire Steve Spott, Dallas legit probably misses the playoffs.
Who's that?
Well, he's Peter DeBoer's like best buddy. Traveled with him San Jose to Vegas
Mm,
to Dallas, and
I see. I've
not
heard
not a yeah,
one of
not
the
a good
main
offense.
guys, Neil Graham, who is the head coach of their AHL affiliate, the Texas Stars. So
I don't know. I don't ever hate when teams do that.
yeah,
You've got a guy there that's been teaching your young talent the ropes, and they've come up and developed and been good. Like, yeah,
yeah. If you
I'd
heard
be
our
all for
talk on
that,
the Kraken, you know that we actually dislike when they fire those guys too soon because they had a good thing going
especially
over
for
there.
1 year,
Yeah,
one
way too soon.
season.
What did they
But
expect from the season too? That was a weird one.
yeah, yeah, that Seattle's kind of a mess right now. It's been a bit of a mess is the craziness of the Stanley Cup Finals here. Like you mentioned previously, we are now 3 games into this series. Um, let's just dive right into game 2. Um, for those who are completely unaware of what's been going on, and if you're listening to this, I don't know how you're unaware. The Florida Panthers winning game 2 5-4 in double overtime off a Brad Marchand overtime winner. This game was just as crazy as,
Electric.
the first game. Like, just very clearly the 2 best teams in the league going at it, so evenly matched, going back and forth, tit for tat with the goals, and you know, going to overtime, just like game 1. This one needed double overtime, and this time Florida able to get the win in this one. What are your thoughts in or
Uh,
around this game?
it so easily could have gone either way. Like it was
Hmm.
so close. Obviously, the absolutely incredible goal from Corey Perry coming with 17 seconds left in regulation to tie it to send it to the overtime and then double overtime. Uh, the latest game tying goal in Stanley Cup Final history as well, which is crazy. Like, and they're the home team, right? So like the crowd lost it. It was so good.
Buzzing. And
And
I got to give Florida a lot of credit for coming back strong in the overtime. Like, that's when the barn gets rowdy like that and it gets buzzing after a late time goal like that, and they're able to kind of weather the storm and um,
yeah,
really, like, even just get through those first like 2 minutes of overtime. It
yeah.
was like, okay, now they have a chance. But it was like you needed to get through just that first 2 minutes with how just electric it was there in Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was incredible, and I was pulled for the Oilers. Like, oh man, that I was like, that crowd's gonna be so disappointed, especially staying late into the second overtime. And it's too bad, but like, man, I saw way too many people blaming Stuart Skinner for that.
Hmm.
People are like, you should have had that. Close your legs, man. Is this the first time you've ever watched hockey? Like, goalies get scored on 5-hole all the time. That was like his fourth breakaway of just the overtimes. Like, he had to
Yeah.
stop a lot of high quality chances and odd man rushes, especially in OT. Jake Wallman had a great chance, and then he blew a tire. They went the other way for an odd man rush. Um, I want to say it was maybe Darnell Nurse that gave up a really bad one later on, and then on the game winning goal, was it? It was Evan Bouchard. He completely lost the puck and just did not back check, and Brad Marchand buries it. Man, watching that last goal back, just watching Bouchard, like, oh, completely vertical, not skating for the back check.
Yeah,
Like,
he was just hoping. Who was it? Draisaitl that was there
I think so.
whacking
Like, it
on
was somebody
Marchand.
else.
Yeah, Bouchard
Somebody
was
else
kind
was
of. I
getting
mean, at
back,
that
and he
point,
was
like,
like, "Ah, that guy's probably got it."
yeah, he was just hoping that Draisaitl was going to be able to catch Marchand, and um, what wasn't the case, and it kind of got up with him, kind of tangled with him, and great resiliency by Marchand to still be able to, get the shot off and get the goal. Um, Again, just continuing to be just a beast for Florida throughout the playoffs and very, making his presence very well known in the Cup final here. I did have two
I think
notes
he's
from
in my
Florida
top 3
here.
for the Conn Smythe right now.
He's got to be after this hot start here. I do have two notes from Florida here in the overtime. The first one is, um, what a terrible breakaway attempt by Sam Reinhart in the first overtime. If you're a Panthers fan, you want one guy. Well, maybe not in this game because like Marchand did get a breakaway goal earlier in the game, but if any other circumstance, you're probably like, yeah, we want Reinhardt to get a breakaway in overtime, and didn't even hit the net. It wasn't a very good shot. That was
Yeah.
a brutal. I literally wrote down here brutal breakaway miss by Reinhardt in overtime. But the one for Florida that was really good was when I don't know who was with Evander Kane, but in the first overtime, they got a 2-on-1 and a diving and then stick swing knocks the puck away play by Gustav Forsling. Uh, was absolutely incredible. Kane made a terrific move to try and get around him, and Forsling found a way to break that up. And, it's like we talked about in the last episode. If that was game one, Forsling probably honestly misses the puck, and then Edmonton gets a great scoring opportunity there. But that was a great play by Forsling there, and I just wanted to highlight and acknowledge that because like that potentially saved the game right there. That play.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, honestly, so many people had incredible games in that game too. And man, it really is crazy that they followed up on that game one with just another banger. Like, just
Yeah,
incredible hockey.
it really was. I'm just trying to pull up the power play numbers here from game two. Um, just to see what the final numbers were to compare those two between the teams.
Yeah.
Edmonton went 1 for 6 on the power play, and Florida went 1 for 4 on the power play in this game. Edmonton ended up with 46 shots, Florida 42. And yeah, I agree. People were blaming Skinner, and I mean, you look at it, it's like, man, 5 periods he allowed 1 goal a period. Is it great? No, but is it terrible? No. He went toe to toe with Sergei Bobrovsky. It's
Yeah.
it's like we talked about after game one. You know, he didn't play the greatest, but he didn't need to because the boys had his back. They bailed him out. They were able to get the overtime goal. They weren't able to in this one. Bobrovsky was just the better goalie in
Oh,
this over.
you know what? When I was mentioning I just remembered when I was mentioning the defenseman turnovers, it wasn't Darnell Nurse. It was John Klingberg, and he turned it over off of a forecheck behind the net. He could have passed it away to two separate guys, rimmed it around, whatever, and he just got forechecked by, I think it was Verhaeghe, and Verhaeghe takes it and just passes it out front, cross crease, and whoever it was ended up taking the shot. And my God, Skinner, what a save! Blocks that,
Mm.
and then the rebound goes under his pad, goes across the crease, and hits the far post
That was Marchand.
before getting
So, like,
cleared. Yeah,
Marchand had the best scoring opportunity before getting the winner.
yeah, like it was absolutely insane watching that. I couldn't
Yeah, like Skinner
believe
kept
that it wasn't in.
Edmonton both goalies throughout the first overtime kept their teams in it. Like going into second overtime is like I don't care. Well, I mean, maybe if it was like just a floaty flipping from center ice, it goes in. Okay, then yeah, blame the goalie. But I was looking, I was like, any goal, like the goalies aren't at fault for this loss. Both goalies made some terrific saves to keep their teams in it. I think it was Kapanen got a great chance that Bobrovsky stopped in the first overtime. Like both goalies really just went toe to toe. And yeah, was it the greatest goal by Marchand? No, but again, it's a breakaway. It's a 50-50. He either scores or he doesn't.
It
Yeah,
like
maybe you'd have liked
unless it's
Skinner to finally get the upper
egregiously
hand and
bad.
stop one, but
Yeah. Unless it's
no,
like
he didn't.
egregiously bad, I can like hardly ever blame a goalie for a breakaway goal. Like
Mhm. I
like
do
why
feel
is
the
this guy in the
pain.
position to begin with?
Yeah. I didn't really think of it at the time because it wasn't something that emotionally affected me or changed the entire course of my team or anything. But like I saw a lot of Boston fans sitting there like, they're like, fuck. Of course Marchand now scores on breakaways. And of course they're talking back to the 2023 playoffs where Boston was up 3-1 in the first round against Florida. And, you know, in the dying seconds of game 5 in a tied game, Marchand gets a breakaway and doesn't score. And then we know how that goes. Florida completes the full on comeback in the series. They go to the cup final, and that's started their whole reign of terror. Was like if Marchand scored on that breakaway, just like that, Florida's out round 1. Boston's going on. Boston's cruising because they had that record season. Uh,
65 wins.
and
There
it's
was
like
three
now,
other teams in history tied with 62 for the best season of all
yeah.
time.
And it's
And
like
then
now
they had
Marchand
65.
scoring breakaway goals in the Stanley Cup Final for the Florida Panthers. So that obviously was just a real gut punch to Bruins fans. And I mean, fair. Like, wasn't anything I thought of during the time. But again, like it didn't emotionally affect me. But if you're a Bruins fan, absolutely. Um, Connor McDavid. That that was the power play goal, right? Yeah.
Yes.
What a play.
Just nasty, man. Was that the one where he toe dragged around? Was it Seth
I
Jones?
I think it was Ekblad.
Yeah, like one of their
I think it was
top
Ekblad.
guys. Just
Like,
makes
just
a nasty move, toe
destroyed him
drags
with that
around,
toe drag.
clean pass over to was it Draisaitl, I think?
Yeah, Draisaitl, and of course,
Like
Draisaitl in his office there, he's gonna bury that, and boy, did he ever. That was
just incredible. It
nuts.
sucks
Uh,
watching when they're getting suffocated on the power play and can't do anything when you know they can do stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah, like that was when I was just watching, I'm like, "Man, like that shit's so unfair." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, Florida's a great team, they got all these great players," but then I'm all sitting there, I'm like, "Fuck, what do you do?" Like, what are you fucking doing, McDavid's doing that shit to in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Yeah.
Um, I really loved Edmonton's bounce back in this game. Obviously, Florida gets the early power play goal from Sam Bennett. Nate Schmidt, another assist here. He's after that when he's up to 3 already through you know 2 minutes of game 2. And then Evander Kane, great shot, ties it up. And then Bouchard takes a shot. I think it was Barkov who blocked it. He gets his own rebound and wires it home. Uh, and then Florida, they tied up. Beautiful play by Nate Schmidt once again to send it over to Lucic, who feeds it back over to Seth Jones. He gets it. He can just rip it into an empty net. Tie game. And then 1 minute later on the power play, McDavid does McDavid things to get to Draisaitl. And it's like, at that point, I was like, shit, you know what? Florida's throwing everything they can, and Florida's getting goals, and Edmonton's responding right away. And I was like, damn, like Florida's in trouble here. Florida could go out there and score 8 goals on Skinner, but it's like every time they do, Edmonton comes down and says, all right, we'll respond. We'll get one right back. So I really did like that for Edmonton in the first period. Obviously, in the second period, didn't quite go their way. Kulikov gets one from the blue line, and then Marchand, the first of his 2 breakaways, getting the shorthanded one, and that one was a terrific move. I don't blame Skinner on that one. Again, it's a breakaway.
No.
It's a 50-50 play. and it's Marchand who has just been dominating. Like, do you blame goalies when Connor McDavid comes down and scores on a breakaway? No. I mean, does McDavid Marchand? No, but I mean, aside from Bennett, Marchand's the hottest player the Bruins got right now.
Yeah, like actually, like there's like 5 guys on either team at the moment that if they come down on a breakaway and score, it's like, what are you supposed to do? Be upset at the goalie? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many of these guys in the series that just when the puck's on their stick, it's like somebody else better do something about it.
And shout out to Anton Lundell, assisting both of Marchand's breakaway goals, making that pass to get up to him. Like, it's like, oh, you know, in a lot of cases, people are like, oh, freebie assist, but it's like they weren't easy passes. Like, you had to put it, up the middle and not have it get turned over, and especially on the first one with some sticks in the way. Like, it had to be a good pass to catch a guy in stride flying up the middle. You can't put
Yeah.
it behind him. You can't put it to the side where they got to reach for it. You got to put it where they can catch it in full stride,
Yeah.
and was able to do that both times.
Well,
So I
even
think
just
that
not
was
looking at the play, like it's such a goofy argument to be like, man, this guy's just like farming assists. What? Getting short-handed assists in the Stanley Cup Final, playing against Connor McDavid and their power play. Yeah. What a short-handed merchant. Like, what an argument.
I hate those short-handed merchants, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Anything else from game 2 here that you wanted to touch on?
The only other thing was this game, we pretty much knew it, but we knew for sure after game 2 that the refs were not calling anything in the dying minutes of the third period and then in overtime.
We kind of went away. Like, what did I say the power plays were? Edmonton had
like
6,
6
Florida had
and
4. That was all in the first 2 periods. So a 10 total power plays, like a full period between the first and second of power plays. Nothing in the third, nothing in first overtime, nothing in second overtime. They let the boys play here.
Yeah, and now we kind of figured that after the first game, nothing was called until a delay of game where like you have to call that.
You literally can't not call that.
There's no way around it without being called crooked. Yeah. But with this one, yeah, the big one obviously going around, because there was a couple things here or there for both teams, but nothing crazy egregious. Even though the refs put the whistles away, both teams kind of did clean it up in the overtimes because they don't want to cost their team the game just in case. But man, that too many men penalty that was missed on Florida was pretty rough, because I do believe that was like that was pretty soon before the overtime winner, right?
I can't remember exactly when it was, honestly.
Like
I'm trying to think,
I feel like it was, but I
can't fully remember.
But
I do know what you're talking
either
about.
Way,
though.
they had 6 guys on the ice, and like, if you want to let that go sometimes, fine, but the extra guy on was the first guy to touch the puck, and he touched it like right after getting on the ice. The other guy was still on the ice. Like, to have that happen not too soon before the goal really does rub a little salt in the wound, because that one feels like it should have probably been called. But you in the overtimes, you can't understand why they wouldn't call it as well. But
it's one of those ones where it's like, could they've called it? Like absolutely, yeah. Should they have? Probably. Again, for someone where like I'm just in the middle and I'm like, I just want to see good hockey. Whoever wins, great. Congrats to you. Again, like I can see that they probably should have called it, but I'll see, like, I see why they didn't. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fair. But like, all in all, yeah, probably should have called that one. Is that a call that's like, oh, that changed the outcome of the game? Maybe. It's impossible to say for sure. If it was where Edmonton was, if they were 4 for 6, if all 4 of their goals on the power play, I'm like, okay, they probably win. They were 1 for 6, but again, like it was in overtime. Guys are a lot more tired and whatnot. Impossible to say. But yeah, probably should have been called. Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. If anything, it's for me, it's almost one of those things where I want them to call it just because I don't want for the rest of this series, anytime it goes to overtime or even later in the third, I don't want to see guys like cheating super hard onto the ice early,
Mm-hmm. And
being like they're not going to call
yeah,
this. It's the You don't want to define the game on a too many men.
and I think it's one of those things where like you need to know the refs. You need to see who's refing and
Yeah. Do you know if they
get that
change
gauge
refs
of
throughout the series?
yeah.
Okay, so it's not like the same guys all throughout.
Yeah, I don't believe it's the exact same guys every time. I
Okay.
wonder if I can check. Chris Rooney and Jean Heber, they were doing game 2. Game 1 was Wes McCauley and Francis Caron, and tonight was Francis Caron and Wes McCauley. So it looks it's rotating um officials. So you've got 2 for game 1, then you've got the 2 for game 2, and then 3, 4, and you go from there.
Okay.
So then you've got it set where if it does go to a game 7, you've got Francis Sharon, however you want to say it, and Wes McCauley, your 2 top guys. Those are the guys you want for a game 7 if it reaches that point.
Yeah. But I guess we can move on and also talk about game 3 now, which
Yeah,
ended
game
up
3
being
took place
was the final
tonight.
score 6-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida won game 3 6-1. Lots of penalties in this one. My God, our group chat was blowing up with just every minute and a half for the first period. There was another penalty, and
Yeah, the first period was
some of them were kind of penalties, but like if we're going off of what the Stanley Cup Final usually is, how many of those do you think are penalties in the first period?
yeah,
Maybe
I didn't like
maybe
a lot of
two.
the yeah,
Like
I wasn't a fan of all the calls in the first period.
yeah, there was
Not one bit.
a lot of softer calls. One of the ones Kane got where they called it a high stick. I don't even think that his stick actually hit the guy. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Marchand. It was either
It was
Marchand or
March.
Kachuk. It was one of those guys who he knows how to uh sell this high stick properly, and he got the rest with that one. But
Yeah, Edmonton went 1 for 6 on the power play in this game. Florida went 3 for 11. And the thing with Kane, right? And this was a thing that I noticed. I don't know if you noticed or many other people. But during not the warm-ups, but like the pregame introductions, when they've got all the players on the blue line and they're going across with the camera and introducing the starting lineups. What the fuck was Kane doing?
I didn't see this part, so I'm
All of
not sure.
Edmonton's starting lines were their starting line was out there. McDavid, his line, the defense, and then Corey Perry was way off by the penalty boxes. Corey Perry just likes to do that. All Florida's guys there, and then the 2 goalies. Evander Kane's just skating around in Edmonton's end. Like the lights are all on the starting players, and Kane's just skating around. They're just shredding up ice in his own end, and he did that for the entirety of the introductions before they went into the national anthem. I'm like what
Did he
the
stop
fuck are you
before,
doing?
and then he stopped when they got to the national anthem?
Yeah, when they got to the anthem, he finally went on the bench and stood there.
Hmm.
But I was like, I've never seen that before. Where again, I have no idea what the reasoning is, but I was just like,
It's Evander Kane. I imagine it's just a get in their head tactic, even if that getting in their head is just what is this weirdo doing?
but it was like again, in my opinion, it was kind of a clown move. Like you've got them, they're introducing Connor McDavid in the Stanley Cup Final. Lights are on the camera, and then you just see Kane just ripping around, skating in the background. I'm like, dude, what do you do? Just get on the bench with your team. Like this isn't, you know, about you needing to be out there and be like, hey, I'm out here too. Look at me. It's like just get on the bench and just go with the program. And then I kind of saw it. I'm like, all right, you know what? Maybe Kane's feeling it. Maybe he's buzzing. Maybe he's going to come out and have a hell of a game. And holy fuck, did he not?
Yeah.
Anton Lundell gets the penalty. Chaos started with a tripping, but then Evander Kane gets a 2-minute cross-checking penalty. Should have been a penalty? No, but again, the Lundell one was kind of an iffy one. So I'm like, it was probably just a makeup call. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
probably 10 out of 10 times they don't call that. But I was like, okay, that's a makeup call. And then
Yeah, I
he comes
agree.
out of the penalty box. Not long after, he gets that high sticking on Marchand. It's like, all right, fuck. Now that's 2 penalties, and you're putting your team back on the penalty kill. He comes out of the penalty box and is going for a line change and decides, I'm going to turn and go after the puck. And then that's when Draisaitl hops on and someone else. And then you get a too many men penalty. It's like Corey Perry served it, but it's like that was Kane's fault because he was skating to
Yeah,
the bench and Draisaitl hopped on. Then he turned away. It's like, so in the first, 10 minutes of the game, you just took 3 penalties.
yeah,
And that's not a way you want to start a game, especially in Florida. Florida did not get a power play goal on any of those, thankfully for Kane. Their power play was atrocious to start the game.
it kind of
Yeah,
feels like that's
that was a rough start for Kane
a bit of the
to start this
series so
game.
far. Like both the
A little bit.
power plays are, I don't even think they're struggling. It's just that the both penalty kills look so good that
Are so
neither
good.
power play seems to get anything going. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden they put together a god play, and all of a sudden it's in the back of the net. Like
Yeah,
they'll
and
fail
you've
on
got
4
one you
power
can get
plays in a
to.
row, and then all of a sudden it's tic tac toe, McDavid toe drag. And it's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
But beyond those plays, the power plays are, this first period felt like a regular season game. Is that weird to say?
A
After
little bit.
how insanely good the hockey was in the first 2 games, the first period actually felt like regular season. A lot of those things
Yeah,
don't
it
usually
kind
get
of
called in the
broke down a
playoffs.
bit more.
Guys were kind of settled in. They weren't skating as like insanely balls to the walls hard. They were still going for it for sure, but
Mhm.
you know, nobody looked like they were skating for their life yet. Yeah, it just had a weird vibe in that first period.
Yeah, well, and even before all the penalty issues for both teams started, who else but Brad Marchand scoring his 8th goal of the playoffs, 56 seconds into this game, 3rd goal in a row for the Florida Panthers. Marchand scored, and I didn't find this out until just before we started recording. He became the oldest player to score in the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup Final. So
To like score in each one.
yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
again, Brad Marchand continuing his dominant play for Florida to get them on the board early. Obviously, shit ton of penalties going back and forth. And that's when we finally got a power play going near the end of the first. Carter Verhaeghe from Nate Schmidt. Once again, Nate Schmidt, that's 5 assists in the Stanley Cup Finals for him already. And Evan Rodriguez. That was just a great shot by Verhaeghe. They finally just get the second power play unit out there
Yeah,
to
that was
cook
a
a little bit. And
laser.
he he showed like, yeah, hey, second power play unit can get it done if the first not. And yeah, terrific shot there to get Florida a 2-0 lead heading into the first intermission.
Yeah. And uh I actually had something that I wanted to talk about this episode, um that I'm still going to talk about it, but the the numbers on it changed because of this game. Um and that is that throughout the entire playoffs, every team, every game, there had only been one fight in the entire playoffs, and that was Nick Hague versus Trent Frederick in the second round, uh, Vegas versus the Oilers. Beyond that, like think about how many goalies have been run into, how many cheap shots, how many all of those all across the league. One fight after tonight, two, because who was it? Was it Nurse and Gadjevic fought? I think
Yeah. Yeah.
so. There's 2 fights now, but still 2 fights throughout the whole playoffs. With all of that, we got 3 in 0 seconds in the 4 nations. Like
Yeah.
the NHL, unfortunately, we're seeing a shift where it's not worth it trying to rile your guys up and go out there and fight the guys. It's
Well,
way
especially with
easier to just hack
the
at a guy's
instigator,
ankle until he can't play.
with the instigator rule as well. Guys
Yeah,
don't want to risk getting that game misconduct and whatnot. The slashing on the foot as well. I wanted to run this by you, and then we'll get into the rest of game 3 here. I've heard a
sure.
lot of people talking about it, and I think I'm on the camp now. I believe if you two-hand whack a guy on the top of the foot, should be 5 in a game for slashing.
I agree.
I really do. And if you're on the
I
side of
wouldn't
being
even
like,
call it
no,
slashing at that point. I would call it intent to injure,
yeah. And if you're on the
or
side
put
of being like,
slashing slash
you know,
intent to injure because it's both.
no, it shouldn't be. Rupe Hintz, he took that whack on the foot from uh that was Nurse, right? In the Edmonton Dallas
Yes.
series. And he went down and people are like, oh, he's embellishing. And then he missed a game and then came back. I'm gonna ask, I don't know if everybody else out there knows, but do you know why he didn't play that game that he missed?
I believe I do now. I didn't at the time, but I
Yeah,
believe
it
he
didn't
had
come
a
out till after
broken
the
foot,
series and
right?
whatnot. It wasn't that he had a broken foot. Well, maybe. It's because they couldn't get his foot to stop bleeding.
Oh, right.
That long after the slash, and they're still like, dude, you can't play because you can't put your skate on, you're still fucking bleeding. Like, that's
Yeah,
how you're
like they
like,
kept
holy shit,
draining
like
his foot and
that did some damage. And yeah,
yeah, and
probably did he have a broken foot? Honestly, probably, yeah. Like
I'm
at that
pretty
point,
sure
it's
he
like
did.
probably did play with a broken foot after that. And so every time I see that happen, I'm like, man, they should just say, you know what? It's like where they go, oh, if you go and catch a guy anywhere on the
Fractured
hand,
foot. Yeah.
fractured foot. The same thing where they made the rule of, if you go to stick lift someone or hook them or slash them, it's like immediately you touch the hands, penalty. It should be the same thing. You slash them on the foot. Oh, not only penalty, but just 5 in a game. Because that it is just intent to injure because there's
Yeah.
no protection there. You
Well,
block a
and
shot
so
with the
that was
top
the
of your foot,
first
like
that was the first slash as well because he came back after missing a game. He came back the game after that, and then was it
and
Bouchard?
Bouchard caught him with the
Two
whack again.
hands.
That's what it was.
It caught him. He two-handed him in the exact same spot behind the play. Like
Yeah.
if there's and we're not talking about plays where there's any plausible deniability, even a shred, right? If there's a puck battle in front, maybe it looks like a follow through on a shot, something like that. At least look at it and use judgment, right?
Yeah. Well, they can
If
review.
yeah, but
They got
if a
that option
guy
now.
two hands him behind the play, like the puck is 100 feet away at least,
Mhm.
and you do that, like if I'm a ref, I'm tossing you out of the game, and I'm upset that I'm not allowed to give you a suspension, and that Department of Player Safety does, because
Mhm.
like that is
This
just
is
so
exactly
chicken
why
shit. That's
it's
so bad.
exactly why teams don't, especially in the playoffs, they don't say what a player's injury is. It's always just undisclosed because if you let the other team know what the injury is, they're gonna go out there and they're gonna keep picking at it until
You're
you
gonna
can't
get
run
way
anymore.
more cross checks if it comes out that you missed game 2 because you had bruised ribs.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah, you're gonna be getting
ribs
whacked.
are on the hit list.
Yeah. So
You're
I just
gonna
wanted to
get
put that out there
demolished.
because I'm just a firm believer that like I hate those ones, those hacks on the top of the foot. But we can get back into game 3 here. Do you want to kick us off in the second period here on what went down?
I actually don't have it. I don't have
Okay,
the
I can just
thing
continue
up here.
rolling on with it. I believe it was at the end of the first. Yeah, right at the end of the first period. Lundell, there was a kind of a scrum. Lundell got a punch off. He was the only one to get a penalty on that play. Got called for roughing, and Edmonton goes out there on the power play to start the second period. And we talk about Marchand, the old vet for the Panthers, the old vet for the Oilers, Corey Perry, scoring for the Oilers here on a great move there to I was kind of wondering why Bouchard didn't rip that puck, but then it was like he was sliding it to Perry so he could
Yeah,
caress it and
that
bring
was
it
a
over
shot for a
and
rebound. That was smart.
deposit it there. Great goal by Perry there to kind of give the Oilers some life. And it's like, all right, now it's a 2-1 game. All that shit in the first period, put it behind you. It's a brand new game. 2-1, you're right back in it. Yeah, not for long. Minute 20 later, Sam Reinhart walks in and rips one home to give Florida a 2-goal lead. Once again, it's like, all right, Oilers are playing catch up again here now. You got to get the next one to make it a 1-goal game here. That did not happen. This play, I feel, is like if you had to pick everything out of this game, this was the game defining play. And that's Podkolzin coming into the Panthers end with the puck and just gets blown up open ice. Huge hit by Sam Bennett to break the play up. And the puck ends up coming back to Podkolzin on the blue line. And I think he was probably a little bit scared of getting run over again. So he tries to just flip the puck away and get rid of it. Goes to Luosterainen, and he breaks out of the zone with it, slides it up to who else but Sam Bennett, the guy who started it all, and makes a terrific move to deposit it. And just like that, now it's a 4-1 game. And Edmonton just didn't recover after that one.
No.
That was the goal. It was like, all right, now this is like, there's obviously still belief in that moment. Like Edmonton could come back, but they did.
The vibes did not point towards it. Like, it's not a game where you are dominating play, but the other guy's getting some timely goals. Like, it was, it looked like Florida was running the show, and the scoreboard reflected it.
Yeah. And then, not much else. I don't even know if there was, what else was there for penalties? Nurse gets a cross-checking late in the second period, but other than that, no other penalties. And Florida takes a 4-1 lead heading into the third period, and it was like, shit, Edmonton's got a mountain here to climb going into the third. There's still belief. I mean, it's Edmonton. We've seen crazier comebacks from them. Like, it's not out of their own possibilities. But they really just weren't able to get it going early in the third. Like, Kane takes that delay of game penalty, and was that the delay of game?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Kane takes a delay of game penalty. Aaron Ekblad scores on the power play off a beautiful behind the back pass by Sam Reinhart there. Like that.
Like, those are the ones where, like, the power play can look bad the whole time, and then all of a sudden, pulling that move out, it's in.
Yeah, you pull that off, it's
like nasty.
And then that was the goal that got Stuart Skinner pulled out of the game. He ended the game 5 goals allowed on 23 shots, 9.68 goals against, and a 7.83 save percentage. So obviously not the greatest night.
I am seeing it written down here as Evander Kane for delay of game. Was it not?
It was Skinner.
It was Skinner, right?
Because they always write it down of like who started. Yeah, that was Skinner. Because I remember after that goal, I said, I mean, you can't blame Skinner on that one. Like, that's a great pass by Reinhart. But then I'm like, well, fuck, he put his team on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
He gave Florida that. That's exactly. I was looking, I was like,
dude, plays like that, I always get nervous. Yes. Every time the goalie shoots it up like glass level to rim it around, I'm like, oh, man. You just know one of these times it's going to go flying out.
Yeah, so I didn't blame Skinner for the goal itself, because like that was just a great pass by Reinhart, great execution by Ekblad. Honestly, if you're looking for someone to blame, probably McDavid. He got a little too close to Reinhart when there's other guys there. He needed to stay back more in the middle to prevent that pass, and he didn't. But it was like, Stuart Skinner, you put your team in that situation early on in the third. Like, you can't, obviously didn't mean to, but you can't be doing that. And then from that point on, obviously it is 5-1 Florida, and the whole game just turns into a fucking mess.
And that's kind of what I was expecting from the start of the third, but it is Edmonton. They're always within punching distance, kind of. But after that 5-1 goal, it was like, okay, now the gloves are coming off and they're going at it. And yeah, we finally got the second fight of the playoffs between Nurse and Gadjevich, which was a fine fight.
Two big boys. Two big boys.
Two big dudes.
Neither really connect. Like, obviously both were a little bit bloodied up afterwards, but neither one of them connect with one where I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, it wasn't one of those ones, like the Nick Hague where he caught Frederick with quite a few. And it's like, fuck, like that's gotta hurt. But this one, I was like, they didn't really connect with any major ones where I'm like, shit. And they're both big, tough guys. So they could handle it.
This is probably not a good take, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Who is the current head coach of the Edmonton Oilers?
Yeah, Chris Knobloch.
If I'm Chris Knobloch, as soon as that goal happens and it is now 5-1, I am going up to Evander Kane and I am saying, I don't care if he doesn't want to fight. You drop your gloves and you punch Matthew Tkachuk until you feel better. Just mug him. I don't care if you play another second of this game. I don't care if you get suspended in the next game. Evander Kane is so much worse at hockey when Matthew Tkachuk is within a 10-mile radius. Tkachuk is in a lot of guys' heads a lot of the time. He is rent-free, dead center of Evander Kane's brain. And he is just not a good player when Tkachuk is around.
Mhm.
I would be like, if you're not taking Tkachuk out of their lineup, then you're not going to be in ours. Like, you got to go do something.
I get where you're coming from, but then you look at the flip side of it, and then Florida's just going to go out there and they're just going to do the same thing to McDavid. They're just going to go out there and it's just going to be like, hey, Gadjevich, love what you've done for us in the playoff run here, but yeah, you're going to go out there and your playoff run's going to be over because you're going to take McDavid with you. And then it just spews over from there.
If Gadjevich could even catch McDavid, but
wow.
Yeah. And
I'm just throwing it out there. I get what you're saying. And I mean, I feel like that was a lot of the Oilers tonight. Like I look at Jake Wallman, I'm like, he didn't want to fucking play hockey. Jake Wallman was out there for the sole purpose to just fight, slash guys, hack, start shit. Like he's like going into the game. He's like, boys, I don't care if we win or lose. I'm just out there to like. He just seemed totally off his game tonight. Like every time I watch him out there, I'm like, dude, you're a good player. You're a good defenseman. You're crucial to this team. Play the game. Like he was just getting caught up in all the other stuff, and kind of similar to Kane with when Kachuk's out there. It seemed like if there was a Panther near Wallman, he was off his game tonight.
Yeah.
I hope he gets, because this is exactly what Florida, I guess to wrap this one up, Evan Rodriguez rips one home on the power play and makes it 6-1. Game ends 6-1. This is exactly what Florida wanted. You look what they did with Tampa, Toronto, Carolina, and now Edmonton. It's just getting these teams off their game. Their system that they made. Florida's is, even in the third period when Florida's up 6-1, they're still just crossing center ice. They're dumping the puck in, and they're going in forechecking and hitting. Like they have a system and they play it from start to finish. And then they're also out there, and by doing so, they're getting Edmonton off their game. Edmonton's out there just slash and hack, and like that's not Edmonton's game. Edmonton's out there.
Yeah.
We're gonna go out there. We're gonna play solid defense now because that's what they've been doing in the playoffs and it's been working. And then we're gonna get our chance offensively, and we're just gonna bury it on you. And now Edmonton's out there just trying to hack and slash and fight and all this other shit. And it's like, this is exactly what Florida wanted you to do, and they completely pulled it off this game to where Edmonton they didn't look like the Oilers that we saw it all in the playoffs. And yeah, you could be like,
No.
I see a lot of Edmonton fans being like, oh, I love the heart from this team. I love the fight from them. They didn't give up. They were giving it back. It's like, that's what Florida wanted, though. You're happy that your team is doing exactly what Florida wanted you to do. Like Tkachuk, Bennett, Marchand, all these guys, they're probably sitting there getting punched in the face a couple times, whack, but they're sitting there we just won.
There's degrees to it, right? Florida wants you to be off your game like they were tonight. You know what Florida doesn't want? You to go out there and chop at Barkov's ankle and break his ankle.
Well, yeah.
They don't want that, right? Like it's one of those things where
But Florida's fucking crazy. That's what if they're winning
crazy.
Games, they're like fine.
They're just insane. They just have no remorse. They will injure your guys and they don't care. And that means they can do that and your guys will get injured. You go to do it back. If you hold back at all, you're probably not going to end up injuring those guys, and you end up getting pumped 6-1. Like, we saw in a couple of games, Toronto, they pushed back, they were mad, but they don't got that snarl. They don't got that fuck you energy. They didn't take a pound of flesh with them. They just punched them in the face and they walked away saying scoreboard. Like if you truly are going to be off of your game and go to that place, you got to be like fucking Randy Orton in 2009. You got to be a psychopath. You got to be a piece of shit, and you got to at least, if you're going to be a dickhead out there, at least be an effective dickhead. Don't just go take a dumb penalty that does nothing for nobody.
And that's exactly what Edmonton was doing.
And that's what they did all game. And that's exactly what the game plan was for Florida. Make them be that, because they know that this isn't a team that has that fuck you energy to go to that place.
Mm-hmm.
So, did anyone even leave the game injured tonight? Plenty of them left because they got misconducts, but
no one left the game because they were hurt. Yeah,
I don't think anybody on either side
tossing guys, and if you're just gonna do dumb shit at this point, just 10-minute misconduct. We're not dealing with it. They were just trying to settle the game down. So it was like, anybody, if you're doing any of this shit, you're done. You're gone.
I honestly wouldn't have been surprised. late in the first period if they gave not a game misconduct, but like a 10-minute to Evander Kane after he took his like third or fourth penalty, just to be like, you're gonna not play for 10 minutes. Go sit in the box. Just like,
and honestly, probably would have been the best thing.
my lips are getting chapped from blowing my whistle. Like,
yeah, it would have given him 10 minutes to cool down because he, again,
we might have seen some 5-on-5 hockey
at the start of the game, and I was like, again, to me, was he intended this way? I don't know, but to me, it was kind of like you just wanted to be out there and getting some of the spotlight. I was it for another reason potentially, I don't know, but I was like, you better have a fucking.
I don't think it was him wanting to be in the spotlight. I think it's just him trying to get in heads, be a pest. Just
he got in his own head then.
Just rocking the boat. Oh, absolutely, it didn't work.
He got in his own head, but in like not even by the end of it, at the start of it.
Yeah, but like, we see that weird stuff all the time. Every once in a while, a guy will just like, he'll go do his stretches like half a foot on the other team's side, and he'll be like, oh, this is gonna rattle them. And sometimes the team doesn't care one bit, and sometimes guys will go over and guard the border and like make a thing of it, right? So like, clearly, I don't know if he had somebody singled out or if he just thought the Panthers in general would hate that shit, but they didn't give a damn. At least it didn't show.
And two things can be true at once. Was the reffing, and this goes to a lot of the people on that were on Twitter. Like it was a consensus from a lot of people. Was the reffing great tonight? No. I could have been better. Absolutely. Was the reffing the reason Edmonton lost? No. If you lose 6-1, it's not 6-1. The ref fault.
Like unless there's like an insane major penalty that has like 3 or 4 goals on it. Like, no.
And people are like, oh, well, Florida got 11 power plays. Yeah, because Edmonton, the third period, all they were doing is just taking penalties. They gave up. They reached the point after Florida's 5th goal. They're like, all right, fuck, game's over. Let's just go out there and Hanson Brothers it out there. Like, that's where the majority of the power plays ended up coming for Florida in the third period. I do got to give a lot of credit to Florida's penalty kill. I noticed a lot more in this game. They're trying to keep Edmonton on Draisaitl's side. They're trying to even eliminate that possibility of, McDavid or Bouchard sliding over to Draisaitl for that patent one-timer that he's like automatic on. They were doing a really good job of keeping Edmonton on that side. And every time Edmonton got over on the good side, Florida found a way to push them back over there. And that's what you need to do to shut down this Edmonton power play. Can other guys score goals? Absolutely. Corey Perry got one. But eliminating that, it's the same thing with Washington. If you eliminate that OV one-timer, which no one seems to be able to do for some reason. I don't know why. But
it's so crazy to me that nobody's ever tried, like, just ride Ovi's dick for 2 minutes and just, like, let's see how our 4-on-3 can play.
Yeah. Like, I remember.
It feels like that's smarter.
And I know it works. Because I remember it was one year we were playing, we were actually on the same team that year playing hockey. And we were going up against a team where they had this guy. He was just like, he wasn't even the most skilled player, but like, fuck, he could blast the puck. Like that was basically his thing, was he can shoot the puck hard and it like always goes in.
Yeah.
And I remember we were playing and like by far the leading scorer in the league, like fucking 4 goals every game, 8 points.
Yeah,
like this stud. And your goal that game was just mirror him, line matching. If he's out there, you went out on the ice, and it was just fucking park your wagon right by him and just make his life hell. What did he do? Nothing. Like that. He did end up ripping a puck and broke a shin pad, which was fucking crazy to see that happen. But you lock onto him, and he couldn't do shit. What's he gonna do? Fucking keep whacking at you? He's just gonna take penalties. Every time he tried to move away from you, you're right on him. Like it's an effective play, and that's kind of what Florida was doing by keeping the puck on Draisaitl's side. You can't one-time it if the puck's right by you because it's on your side.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if you're gonna bring that up or like an example within the NHL, because I do remember that, and like because I'm pretty sure that was one of the years where our dad was the coach, and I remember like after like 10 minutes or after the first period, he was like, that guy, just, you're going to go out there whenever he's out there, stick on him. And I was like, even if he doesn't have the puck? Yeah, even if we have the puck. It was just like, whatever. And there was times where like, we're just in the neutral zone, and I'm not even like, I don't know where the puck is. I'm just like standing looking at him like Sean Avery against Martin Brodeur. And
Yeah.
I was standing there like thinking like, this is so dumb and toxic, but it's kind of the funniest thing in the world. And obviously he's like, what are you doing? Go play the game. I was like, nah, you're my game now.
Yeah,
And like,
and I remember very clearly that was a double header. That was a Friday night and then a Saturday night game. First game we got fucking pumped. I think it was like 12-1. And then the second game, I think we lost like 2-1, 3-1. Because you completely eliminated the freak of nature that this guy was, like
just always
just
covered.
insane. So again,
If you
it's
can
an
take a
effective
game
play.
breaker out
It
of a
works,
play,
and
yeah.
yeah.
Like
So
even
I
if
do
you
got to
have
give
to,
Florida a lot of credit there because that was
yeah,
and Edmonton's penalty kill. Up until the shit that just went insane in the third period, their penalty kill was just as good. Like it's just they just do the same thing that they've been doing that's been working, and again until the wheels fell off the wagon in the third, they were doing completely fine in terms of killing off penalties as well.
yeah, yeah. Like they're gonna score in the Stanley Cup Final. The other team is going to score on the power play if you give them 11 opportunities to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Um,
they're just going to.
yeah. Do you have any other news or any other points on Game 3 you wanted to touch on here?
Not really. Um, for a split second, I thought we were going to get a repeat of, I think it was Game 2, where very early on, like in the first period, Evander Kane takes a dumb penalty and he goes sit in the box, and then he comes out and immediately scores a goal. For a split second,
Mhm.
I thought we were going to see that in the first period. I think
Did
it
that
was
happen
after his
again?
like third penalty, but he got a breakaway and it was a good shot, but he went just wide of the net.
Yeah,
But
it
for a
actually
split
was
second
a
there, I
very
thought he
good
was
shot.
going to go take
I thought he was
3
gonna score
penalties and
too.
then laser it.
I thought he was gonna score too. Um,
Be a pro moment.
couple things that I want to touch on here before we maybe kind of just be like, oh, what's the series at looking like now? Game 1, Florida puts up 3 goals. Game 2, they put up 5, so that's now 8 goals total in the series. And then 6 tonight, they have 14 goals through 3 games so far. Alexander Barkov, 0 points. I see, obviously, Paul Maurice made that joke when he's asked by the media this morning about it, and he just said, we're going to trade him. Obviously, he was joking.
I think everyone
But like
knows that.
that just shows like, his game first of all is obviously like the defense first and shutting down McDavid went on. Like McDavid and Draisaitl have both 0 points in tonight's game, and that's largely part due to Alexander Barkov. But
Yeah.
it's so impressive when what did I say? Like 14 goals in 3 games, and you're getting that without your number 1 center. That's the rest of the boys. That's everybody else. Like Nate Schmidt, 5 assists. Like every third goal this series, you're getting your third pairing defenseman getting an apple. Like having that your depth all around guys potting them and
Their
being like,
top
hey
9 is
Barkov, you
so
know what?
filthy.
You don't need to even fucking put up a point this series. If you just can neutralize McDavid to the best that you can, we'll go out there and we'll put up the goals for you. You do your job, and we'll have your back. And I mean, Florida's up 2-1 right now, so like it's working so far. But I feel like if you're Florida, you'd kind of like to see Barkov get in on the offense a little bit, just in case if there's a game where the depth maybe is struggling and can't get it done, or the pucks just aren't bouncing away. You'd maybe like a game for Barkov to kind of pop off a bit and maybe get a goal or a couple assists or
I
something
mean,
just to maybe chip in.
would you like it? Sure. Honestly, I wouldn't tell Barkov to change his game at all.
No,
Like
absolutely not.
if he's
Absolutely
doing
not.
that
No.
shutdown role, like I think we are transitioning into an era where having a guy who can just don't even think about it, man. Just go out there, focus, and make sure their best players don't score. Like
Mhm.
I know within the Lightning fan base, there's been a couple people being like, should we move Sorelli at some point before he's too far into his contract and his no move kicks in? Because he doesn't score a lot in the playoffs. He disappears in the playoffs. If you watch him in those playoffs, his job, he's given an assignment like Barkov has been here every series. It's always go after their top guys, the Austin Matthews or maybe Barkov himself, whoever it is. And it's just don't even think about what happens on that 50% of the ice. Think about our half of the ice. And
And
I think
even like
having guys like that, and obviously he's not the
Mhm.
number one center there.
Yeah.
It's different in Florida's case. I think most teams would probably prefer it to be their uh, second center, but I think it's really important to have that guy who can just hell doesn't even need to be a two-way force. You can be a one-way force just on your end
Well,
come
it's
playoff
even like
time.
we talked about last episode, we were kind of talking about like that insane stat that was out there of McDavid since 2022 has more playoff points than Jonathan Toews had in his entire career. Isn't impressive? Yeah, but it's also like Jonathan Toews wasn't a McDavid to go out there and score all the goals on. Like that was Patrick Kane's job. Toews was when you get points, great, but it's also like you're shutting down the other team's top line. Like you won 3 Stanley Cups by doing that. By your number one center, yeah, getting points here and there because it's great. Why not? Jonathan Toews was one of the most skilled players, but his job first was to shut down the other team's top guys,
Yeah.
and it
Patrice
was effective.
Bergeron, Anze
Yeah,
Kopitar. Like those guys, they put up some points, but like
you don't rely
they
on for the offense from them, even though they're your number one
yeah.
center. It's like we're not relying on you to put the team on your back offensively. We're relying on you to stop the other team's top line, stop their guys that are trying to put the team on their back, and that's why all
Yeah.
those guys they got cups. They got cups,
And
baby.
you know what? That's one thing that's so just filthy with this Panthers team because if McDavid just solves Barkov, if he just begins to torch him over and over, you can swap him and have Anton Lundell go try and
Mhm.
shut him down. And like he's not Barkov, but he's pretty freaking adept at shutting guys down. Like he
Yeah.
can probably do it decently, or at least maybe make McDavid have to figure out how to beat him now. And
Mhm.
also that frees up Barkov to be playing against another line and probably start putting up a couple points.
Yeah, or
So
maybe it's just then Barkov goes and shuts down Draisaitl's line.
like they can change which line is the shutdown line on a dime.
Mhm. Yeah, they have that luxury for sure. Um, what are you if you're Edmonton, what are you feeling after this game? Like I see people being like, "Oh, is it time to hit the panic button?" Absolutely not. This is a game where you're sitting here like, "You know what? We 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 could be up 2-1 in this series. Florida could be up 3-0 even. But if you're Edmonton, you're just sitting there like we could have won game. Well, we did win game one. Could have won game two. Game three didn't go our way, but we know why. It's clearly laid out in front of us why we lost this game. And it's because we got caught up in all this stuff after the whistle, all this stuff behind the play, all this chippiness. We need to stay away from that shit.
Yeah.
We kill penalties? Absolutely, but it's not our game plan. Our game plan is to go out there and do exactly what we did to roll LA from games 3, 4, 5, 6. Go out there and you roll Vegas for 4 out of 5 games, basically 5 games. Like you probably should have swept them, and then Dallas, like that, you just rolled a great team there. They know what they need to do to win. They got off at one game, but now you're like, we got to clean that shit up. We can't do this. We got to be smarter and just go out
Yeah.
and play the way we did in games 1 and 2. And if
And
they
they
do
know
that,
it too.
they could easily tie the series up. And then you're going back to Edmonton. You're feeling good. You're back in your own barn with your fans. And then before you know it, you could be up 3-2. And like, all right, we're going into Florida. We win this, we're the cup champs. If we lose, we're going back home and it's game 7 once again, but it's in our barn this time. It's in front of our fans. Like, you know, too many people are like just doom and gloom on the Oilers right now. And I think that's just wild given what we've seen from them and what
It
they've
makes
done. Like,
sense
they're not out
because
of it
we've seen
at all.
Florida win
Mhm.
before. But yeah, this Oilers team is not to be written off yet. And like, I've gone back to it a couple times. McDavid said it I believe going out of the third round, that they're a less emotional team. They're more calm. They go out there, they execute, they play their hockey, they win games. They've been
Mhm.
doing that all throughout the playoffs. They did it game 1 and 2 against Florida, and it all went away in game 3.
Yeah,
Bring
it
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 back,
completely went out the window, like, right from the
play your
start.
hockey, and you know what? Yeah, maybe Evander Kane, maybe he just woke up just having an insane day, you know?
Mhm.
Like he just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. He's pissed all day. Fuck, and I got to go play this hockey game against a stupid team in front of their stupid fans. Oh, they're doing the introduction. You know what? I'm going to go for a skate. Why the hell not? Fuck these guys. I don't care. I'm going to do that. And then the game starts and he takes a bunch of penalties and there's there's a decent chance that rolled over onto a decent bit of the team. It's infectious when one of your guys is really pissed off, for better or for worse, because we've seen it work to a team's benefit plenty of times. So, not putting it all on Kane. There was, like you said, Wallman and some other dudes. Not. Like, there's plenty of them that kind of lost their marbles throughout the game, but they need to play their game. They need to not get drug into it. Try and not give them too much of a home field advantage. Don't let the fans get in your head too much either. I'm just trying to look it up now because late in the game I know it was the case. Yep. Leon Draisaitl, 0 shots on goal this game. I don't want to see that shit in game 4. If I'm not blocked.
Yeah, and how many shots did Matthew Tkachuk have?
Matthew Tkachuk had 4 shots on goal.
So that's a good response from Tkachuk, because in game 2 that went to double overtime, Florida had 42 shots. Matthew Tkachuk had 0.
Damn.
Him and Evan Rodriguez were the only players on the team without a shot on goal. How many did Rodriguez have tonight? I know he had a goal, so he had at least... Okay, so 1 shot, 1 goal. Well, there you go. It's better than 0 and 0. So, yeah, Draisaitl needs to have that response that Matthew Tkachuk did after a bit of a rough game. And again, that kind of goes back to Florida's power play.
Do you know who was...
Keep it on Draisaitl's side. It eliminates that opportunity.
Yeah, that's probably a big reason why. Like, he didn't get any on the power play like he normally would.
And on the peeper.
5-on-5. Do you know who was line match tonight against McDavid? I don't know. I didn't really see it.
I'm going to assume Barkov's line.
There's a very good chance of it.
100% certainty.
I'm just looking at the
other shit. I was actually going to focus on that in the game, but then it was like fucking just power play. Like there was like no 5-on-5.
Yeah,
like
right.
What was it? Like 6 or 5 minutes left, maybe even 4 minutes left in the first period. I'm like, oh shit, Florida's fourth line, they're here. I thought maybe they just they took the first period off. I didn't see them. It was good to see them get some first period action in.
Like, actually, Barkov in this game only had 1 shot. Anton Lundell, he had 0. Like, a lot of those two-way players that we were just talking about, they don't have the shots because they're busy elsewhere. He's a +1. That's what matters.
Barkov had 1.
Did Barkov have 1?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
1 shot.
Yep, yeah, he had 1 shot.
Luostarinen, the only guy on the team that's a +2. A lot of +1s, a lot of evens. Luostarinen, only guy that's a +2 on the game. It's kind of cool. Good for him.
Underrated player.
Very underrated. Very underrated.
Man, who do you think wins the Conn Smythe if Florida wins?
If Florida wins, I mean, if Bobrovsky keeps playing the way that he's playing right now, I think there's still a solid case for that. I threw Marchand out there, and that's still a possibility, but I think right now the leading guy is Sam Bennett. He's up to 4. Was tonight? Yeah, tonight was his 14th goal, right?
13 or 14, yeah.
Just double check here.
I could definitely see it being Sam Bennett with those goal totals.
14 goals. The next highest is Draisaitl with 10. Rantanen's still there at 9, and then Svechnikov 8. Perry's at 9 actually after tonight too.
Legend.
So probably Sam Bennett leading the team in.
I think he's probably the most likely to. If I was the guy who got to choose, I think right now it's Brad Marchand.
That's if I got a vote,
his
Marchand
goals feel more timely. The two-way force, penalty killing, he's doing everything, man. Mm-hmm. And obviously Bennett has, his obvious, the perks of having Sam Bennett away from the score sheet, but man, Marchand.
Yeah, if I did get a vote, it would be Marchand right now. If Florida was to win the cup,
he's putting together a Phil Kessel run, where on the third line he is
just a
making it
beast.
look like he's on the top line out there.
And elevating the guys around him, like Luosterainen and Lundell.
Yeah, as if
We talked about
Luosterainen
great
and
players,
Lundell
but
needed to be elevated, but they
yeah,
are.
Marchand's
Like,
definitely. But I think that's kind of our wrap up for games 2 and 3 here. Game 4 takes place Thursday night. Actually, we get 2 days off here, so when you get us back on Friday, we will be back to discuss any other news that is going around the league. A lot of rumors about random shit, so maybe we'll see if there's anything that catches fire there. And then obviously we'll be back to talk about Game 4. Braden, we are at the final segment of this episode. We are back with what I'm assuming is a fan favorite. I hope it is. Categories. For those who are unfamiliar with categories, today we are on the topic of players, not teams. I have 5 players here. 4 fit the mold, 1 does not. It is up to Braden and you all at home to figure out which player doesn't belong and why they are the
all
player
right.
that does not belong.
And
Braden,
this is like my worst game that we do here, right? Like, this has been the one where,
Yeah.
like, I don't
This
think
is the toughest one, though.
I think I've got one or
This is by far
two
the
like
toughest.
pretty close, but I don't think I've gotten any of them like on the dot. Like, there was one where all of them except for one guy were from Calgary, and I said from Alberta or something like that.
Mm-hmm. This is a fun one. I think this one's a little bit tricky, but we'll see how you do here. Are you ready for your 5 players?
I am ready for my 5 players.
The first player you have is Victor Arvidsson.
Victor Arvidsson.
The second player you have is Nate Schmidt. My boy Schmitty. Nate Schmidt is your second player.
All right.
Thomas Nosek is your third player.
Nosek. All right.
Brad Marchand is your fourth player.
Okay.
And your final player is none other than John Klingberg. Those are your 5 players. Victor Arvidsson, Nate Schmidt, Thomas Nosek, Brad Marchand, and John Klingberg are the 5.
All right. Well, obviously, all 5 of these guys are playing in the Cup Final right now. You got Arvidsson and Klingberg on Edmonton, and then Schmidt, Nosek, Marchand on Florida. We got...
You would be correct.
Schmidt and Klingberg are defensemen, so it's not a defenseman versus forwards. Our Marchand's already got a cup. Schmidt went there in the last offseason. So I don't think Schmidt actually has one. Really no idea if Nosek does. I kind of imagine not. I don't think Arvidsson or Klingberg does, so it could just be that Marchand is a cup champ already. Marchand definitely seems like the odd man out here, just based on general skill level.
On name value.
Odd man out. This guy has too high of name value to be in the conversation with the other. Not sure. I really don't know where most of these guys are from. I guess Marchand is from Nova Scotia. Klingberg is somewhere Nordic.
Okay.
I feel like it's probably Marchand.
Marchand. You're thinking Marshy's the odd man out?
I'm thinking so.
I remember for those at home,
it's so weird doing it with players versus
teams. Yeah. I remember for those at home, you do have to figure out who the odd player is out of the 5 and why. The category, the overlooming thing, the reason for why they are. It's a little two-parter question.
I think it might be Marchand because he's the only current cup winner of these groups, of these players. I mean, that's rather general, so like there's a good chance that it's something else, but I don't know a ton about a lot of these guys, especially Schmidt and Nosek.
So I'll give you bit of a hint. You're kind of on the right track, but you need to dig a little bit deeper, like a little more specific.
A little more
It's just it's just
specific.
kind of very vague that way.
Little more
Like you're
specific.
on the
So,
you're trucking down the right road. This is a freebie hint, so you don't lose cool guy points or street
oh
cred,
hell yeah.
obviously. But you do need to dig a little bit deeper.
Little bit deeper than just being a cup champ. So like playing not probably not games played, like being on a winning team. I honestly don't even know if Nosik's played in the league for that long. I have no idea about this player.
He's been around for a bit. Yeah, he's just one of those depth guys that kind of gets forgotten about sometimes.
Yeah. Well, case in point.
But he has had a few cups of coffee in the league.
Few cups.
Few. 493 cups. Well, by that I mean games. Obviously, hasn't won fucking that many. No one's won that many Stanley Cups. But 493 games for Nosek in the league.
Is it players that have like scored in this series, maybe? Something like that. I like obviously Marchand has a goal. I believe Schmidt's got some assists. I don't know if he has a goal. Arvidsson, I think, has a
I could
goal.
tell you if Nate Schmidt had a goal, I'd be glazing him way more than I have. I'm hoping it happens.
Well, if Schmidt doesn't, then do the other two do? Arvidsson and Marchand do. Has Klingberg, has he buried one? Has he got a goofy shot through? I feel like Nosek did score. I kind of feel like he had that horrendous delay of game penalty, and I feel like he might have banged one home in game 2 or something. That's kind of all I can think of right now. So I don't want to drag it out for too long. So I'm gonna go with Nate Schmidt is the only player without a goal in these Stanley Cup Finals.
Final answer?
Final answer.
You were trucking down the right road.
Ah,
You hit the ditch. Brad Marchand was, in fact, the odd player out.
okay. I kind of thought so
Um,
before, but I couldn't figure out anything other than him being a cup winner.
And these are obviously all 5 players who are in the Stanley Cup Final here, but weren't last year. These are all new additions to this rivalry here. But Marchand is the only one with a Stanley Cup who has been in a Stanley Cup Final before. Victor Arvidsson went to the Stanley Cup Final with the Nashville Predators and lost. Nate Schmidt and Nosek with Vegas in their first year in the league and lost. And then John Klingberg with the Dallas Stars against Tampa Bay lost in the Stanley Cup Final. So you're right that Marchand was the only one with a cup, but you just need to dig that they've all been in a Stanley Cup Final before, basically.
I never would have got that. I didn't
bit.
know Schmidt or Nosek were in Vegas, honestly.
Because you were like right. You were like when you were talking about Klingberg, and I was like, you're slowly getting there. That was a bit of a trick one, but you were definitely on the right track at the beginning. I was close to putting Marchand only one with a cup, but I was like, I feel like that's just a freebie there. But you were doing really well there. I thought you were definitely
I got close
on the right track when you were getting to the Klingberg spot. But if you did well at home, let us know. I don't know if you did. If you did, we might not believe you, but we might.
If you figured out that all the other guys had been to finals and hadn't won yet, like, congrats. That's impressive.
Yeah, that was that. I think that one actually, now that I look at it, that's probably the toughest one that I've done so far. So if you think I'm an asshole, that's fair, and let me know. You know where you can do so to let me know. You can do so through any of our socials. The links to all of our socials are in the description across all episodes, across all platforms. We are everywhere. We are worldwide. Braden, it has been an incredible Stanley Cup Final so far. We are through 3 games. We'll be through 4 games later this week in Friday's episode. And I must ask you, during this time, Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I want to see a tighter game from the Oilers in game 4. I want to see them not go out there with red in their eyes. I want them to go out there, play their game, and I want to see a close game. I want to see another one like games 1 and 2. Hell, I'm fine with it going to overtime again. I don't got anywhere to be. So, you know what? Final thoughts. Game-winning goal in overtime, game 4, Corey Perry.
Woo! Trying to one up Marshy. I dig it. I dig it. I would like to see Corey Perry continue his dominance in this series. He's been, again, continues to just defy age. It really is impressive.
Him and Marchand, it's so goofy how good both of them have been in this series already.
Yeah. Honestly, it's not even crazy to say they've been the 2 best players for their respective teams so far in this series.
I was going to say it, and then I was like, well, okay, no. Even if it's not on the scoreboard, McDavid's so clearly like just creating insane space for people, but
I hope McDavid's okay. Obviously, did take that hard hit. You normally don't see McDavid get hit, and bounced up, looked okay, went down the tunnel, came back immediately. So, well, something to keep an eye on. But it's McDavid. He's going to play in every game, like whether he's healthy or not. He's going to be in.
Honestly,
he's still going to be an effective player.
Honestly, I don't doubt that. Like they were like, a lot of the game plan for Florida is line matching him. I don't doubt that it was even just a little bit of gamesmanship, being like, go down the tunnel for a bit, then come back and maybe see if we can catch him not watching our bench, and all of a sudden McDavid's out there against the fourth line or something.
It's pesky Oilers. You gotta keep an eye on them. But that will do it for
honestly,
this episode once again.
That would be so funny. That would just be so funny to see a team like when they're on the bench, like hiding, like they have guys like ducking down or like hiding who's who and like trying to trick them to who's going out, or like just get like blackout curtains and just hold them up and like don't let the other team see your bench. They don't get to see you until you're out on the ice. They don't know what you're planning.
Will be wild, like a Royal Rumble. But
I don't know if there's rules against that or not.
Maybe I have to dig into that and check it out. But that will do it for this episode. Hope you all enjoyed, and hope you are all enjoying the Stanley Cup Final as much as we are. That's it for this one. And as always, we will see all of you out on the ice later this week.